Howdy folks, today's soap is brought to us from Van Yulay, Soap of the Gods. This one here, name is Calypso. Show you what the inside looks like. It starts out with 4 ounces, so got a scoop out of there. This one here has a scent of, it's well blended, so I wrote it all down. Sea moss, rose, oatmeal, bergamot, orchid, jasmine, and violet, just to name a few. It is a really nice scent. My first experience with this was when Monica used to put her soaps in metal tins. Came in a 5-ounce variety, and when I got it, it was on sale for $5. So that's how I got started on this scent. And yeah, this is the second tub. It is a really nice scent. Got the matching aftershave here. This is 4 ounces as opposed to, I guess you might say, the standard 3.4 ounces. And it is the kind that you have to shake up because it does separate over time. But comes in a plastic container also, if that matters for some folks. Got it whipped up here in the fine accoutrements bowl. It's on the wet side of the hair. It's kind of almost drippy, pretty close. And that's what it looks like there on the inside. And you can see it's moving, so it's fairly wet. Had a lot of fun whipping this one up. I've got more than enough for 2 shaves, easy, 3, maybe 4. I mean, there's quite a bit whipped up there. It's pretty fun. I have some links down below that you might be interested in. One of them is just a Gillette date codes if you're interested in hunting down something that you may have acquired over time and trying to figure out what the date codes are. I got a link down below that maybe you like to refer back to, as well as the above the tie blade gap comparison chart type thing. The reason why I brought that up is because with today's shaver, this one here is the Rockwell T2. And this one here is in good metal and color. You can kind of tell that the handle is a little bit on the lengthy side. I have a link down below, not only where you can buy this, but also the information on what they went through and the changes from the first version to this version, which is probably better for you to read through that and see what you're interested in, as opposed to me trying to go through it all. I can tell you to a degree, in short though, some of the material, in other words, is a little bit thicker, heavier grade, if you will, and I think they did shorten up the handle a little bit. Outside of that, in other words, when you just to look at it, it kind of sort of looks like the old one. But when you read down in there, they've made a number of changes, and it's, I guess you might say, under the hood type things where most folks aren't going to notice just by looking at it. It'll be, you know, something as you read through it and you compare the two, then you'll start noticing little changes here and there that are physically that you can see that's going on, but a lot of it was under the hood and how it was made. And I'm going to go with setting 6 on this one here. I have a Personna X Series blade. That's what the wrapper looks like there. And that is something I probably should go in before I forget. You kind of see how that blade is in there. And it is enclosed, so in other words, there's no overhanging tabs, you know, to cut your nose or anything like that. But that blade is somewhat in there, so if you're trying to use one edge or the other to trim with, in other words, to make a line, it might be a little frustrating trying to do something like that. I don't shave it underneath my nose, so I'm good to go. But for some other folks, that might be a deal breaker. Like I say, I'll have the link down below. Comparison. To throw out numbers, sometimes it just doesn't quite do the trick. So I thought I would do something like this, for instance, on size. This is a Gillette Fat Boy over here. And you can kind of see the difference in length. Maybe that might be even better for you. There is quite a bit of a difference. Here's a Gillette Slim. And you can kind of see, yeah, there's still quite a bit of a difference in length. And now here's a Gillette Super, the 109. And you can kind of tell the 109 is just a little bit longer to give you some kind of idea what the length of this one here is. And then maybe perhaps you have a Parker variant, and this, they're almost the same length, just a slight difference, not a whole lot, just a slight difference in between these two. So just to give you some kind of size comparison to work with on how long this handle is, because to me, just to look at it, and I think it has to do with how this is laid out, makes it look long. And not that it's a short handle by any means, but it looks longer when you look at it just like this. But when you finally, in other words, go ahead and put up against to the 109, you kind of see that the 109 is longer, and this handle doesn't look quite as long when you compare it size-wise up to the Super. Just thought I'd throw that out there because for me to show out, tell you millimeters and length and all that sort of thing, for me that's kind of hard for some folks to visualize, and it's just easier just to show them like that, to give you an idea that it looks long, but it's not quite as long as it looks. Already put a hot towel to the face this morning, and I'm going to be using my Preshave soap, Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, the Cube. The holiday version smells like Christmas to me. But it sits up here. It's really easy for me to grab a hold of. And it also seems like it's calling my name every shave I do if I'm not using it. It seems like it's just sitting there waiting to be used. So it's kind of hard to ignore, I guess you might say. Back to the soap, I should mention the scent. It is very much, a summer type scent. What people would, some folks might, relate to summer. And but I like using it year round because just like during the winter months, you long for summer. Summer months, you long for winter. Cooler, temperatures or warmer temperatures, whatever the case might be. And that's the reason why I think I mix things up throughout the year in the way of scent profiles and whatnot. Monica soaps. Oh, I got a link down below for Monica, this particular soap, and it's got emu oil in it. Not all of her soap base are the same. She varies things up, so that is something you might want to pay attention to, especially if you lean more towards vegan or something along those lines. She does have vegan, but she also has tallow and so on and so forth. So it is just something to kind of watch if you're looking at her soaps. She's changed up her website just a tad bit over time. So if it's been a while since you looked at her website, you notice it does look different. Not that it's good or bad, it just looks different. But this scent, it does smell good. My nose is working well today. Over the past few days, I got to hunting for another Conrad razor. Picked up one. Cap needs a little bit of work, but picked one up for an awesome $8. So you can find them on the cheap. But anyway, here we go. Above the tie, blade gap comparison. Got a link down below, and if you are interested in checking that out, it doesn't have the Rockwell T series in that particular comparison chart, but it does have like the 6C. So in other words, plate 1, R1, R2, R3, so on and so forth. It'll have that blade gap in the way of measured off in inches as well as millimeters and the weight of the razors. So if that's something that you're interested in checking out, especially if you're unfamiliar, like for instance the Merkur Progress and the Merkur Future, you'll understand why there's such a difference in between the two. Because the settings in one razor in the Progress aren't quite as aggressive as the Future. And that's the reason why some people consider the Merkur Future more aggressive, is because there's a difference in the blade gaps. As well as the blade gap settings on the Gillette adjustables and so on, as well as non-adjustables, as well as some Seagull edges, like your like the Jim G bar, or perhaps you're looking at the settings for the blade gaps for maybe a Schick razor injector. But it's a pretty interesting comparison chart, if you will. Now I can tell you that setting 6, there is a wee bit of blade feel. Now if you're kind of wondering on the fence on adjustable razor, there's it just really depends on what your wants and needs are. if you're looking at trying to keep things down to a minimum, the number of razors, that blade gap chart might be very beneficial. This particular shaver here, part of the design change was trying to make the setting 6 through 1, somewhat different. So if you're looking for a milder shave, you can adjust accordingly and get that kind of shave that you're looking for. Or if you're looking for something aggressive, setting 6 is probably what you're looking for. Now, as it goes for the, I'm going to leave it on setting 6, by the way. As it goes for the doors, opening and closing, the twist function of the knob, it seems to take a few turns to get it to work. Not that that's a flaw, it just takes a few more turns than what maybe some people are accustomed to. Not a bad thing, in my opinion. Depends on what your expectations are. It just takes a few more turns than what some people might be used to. Very smooth turn, doors open nice. I'll show you here in a few how the doors open and close. It's a nice razor. The first one was crowdfunded. I've got a link down below in that blog where it talks about the changes they made for the T2, and also all the iterations of the first ones. In other words, what they went through, crowdfunding. I think there was like over 4,000 backers and so on and so forth. In other words, there's quite a bit of history already with this particular razor and how it came to be with the first one and now going to the second version. It does smell great. I would almost say this is close to a cologne scent. It would be one of my favorite cologne scents if it is. Some people may not agree, but for my nose it does smell like a cologne scent, and I do like it. Like I said, on setting 6, there is going to be a blade feel, especially with the green pass. Right now, this one here, I still feel it, but it's not because of the beard reduction. As time goes on, it feels like it's a little bit less as time, as I guess you might say, as each pass takes place. It has been kind of exciting. I've had this for over a week. 4th of July came up, and our plans changed, what, 3 times? 4 times? It was very fluid, but we enjoyed our holiday weekend. But it did take a moment to get all the plans finalized, and where we were going and what we were doing. Very relaxing holiday weekend, which was what we were shooting for. So far, so good. I don't feel like I'm going to end up with any weepers. There is quite a bit of blade feel on the setting 6, so that might be, for some folks, that's might be a little bit too much. But that, for some folks, that's what they're looking for. They are looking for a lot of blade feel. Trying to get that full range, if you will, within one adjustable. And having adjustable, you can, if you want a really mild shave, I think what they were shooting for was that you could get it with this razor. It really does smell good. It is one of those scents that when I first got it that I just really did like. When I first got it, I had the 5-ounce metal tin, and then I just bought a sample of the Aftershave balm, which lasted me a good long moment. That is pretty good stuff, in my opinion. Might be able to hear that feedback on the green pass. I have a feeling there's not going to be much left after this. Very efficient shave. What's the going price of this thing? The depending on the everyday price is $150. Now it's been reduced for, I guess you might say, introductory price of $130. I don't know if there's any discount codes available out there. In the beginning, there was one available through Sharpologist. I don't know if it's still available or not. I would almost, if you're familiar with an shake injector E, type E, I guess you might say. If you're familiar with that, setting 6 is very close to that. Not exactly, but close. Yeah. It's that setting 6 is aggressive. It does feel like you're taking off more than just a whisker reduction. You're exfoliating at the same time. I mean, it's that blade feel, it is there. It kind of sets you up for if you're shaving for every other day. Setting 6 just might be that kind of setting for you, because by the time you get done, you don't have hardly anything. Just a routine shave. Not trying to go for BBS or anything like that. You could come darn close without putting out a whole lot of effort. In other words, wow, that is pretty darn close. I know I keep on saying, but I think it's important for some folks to just keep in mind that 6 setting. It's got a wee bit of blade feel. See how much stinging I got. I got a little bit right there. Still got some soap on my ear. That's the only spot I have, is right back here, which is pretty good considering this is the most aggressive setting. That setting kind of reminds me, in other words, of a single edge shave that's a little bit on the aggressive side. Just that little bit of stinging back there, just a little bit. Pretty good shave. Really can't complain. I know for some folks, maybe you might have been a little bit disappointed when this one came out, because like I say, physically you don't really notice a whole lot. But once you start reading through the blog and seeing the changes and whatnot, you'll understand that a lot of the improvements was, I guess you might say, under the hood mechanical type stuff. Changing up some of the parts so in hopes that the shaver would last longer. Stuff like that. Stuff that I would appreciate, because in other words, I'm going, years down the road and just really wanting something that's going to last a while. You can kind of tell, like I say, it takes a few turns before the doors finally open. For some people, they may not appreciate that much. That's what the inside looks like. There's the blade in there. Take the blade out there. And that's what it looks like on the underside there. There is one thing, if I was going to pick at this, these are the things for me looking many years down the road. I guess you might say after I'm done gone, let's say like 50 years, and this razor is still around. In other words, in good working order, like one of these Gillette adjustables over here. The one thing that is of note is that these are not recessed down in there. So if they should ever come off, replacing those numbers could be fun, because in other words, you're just not painting them on there because it's being recessed, like like these are, where you can go and paint them back black, and there you go, looking like new again. That is not the case with this one here, as well as the pointer is on there the same way. The other thing, I guess you might say, to complain about is nowhere on here does it say Rockwell T2, anything of the sort. No logo, there's nothing like that. And for me, that is one of those things that, where it's later down the road. In other words, I've got a single edge that takes a gem blade, shaves nice, smooth, comfortable, has no name on it. There's no markings, there's nothing on it. Have no idea where it was made, who made it, or anything of the sort. If there was anything that I would say for a razor company, you really need to start doing that with these. I should mention, I forgot to, and it's probably going to be really hard to see on camera. You're probably not going to be able to see it, but right there is marked. In other words, there's I think that one there is number 2, and that one there is number 1. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but each one is labeled. Each door is labeled on the inside. Thought that was pretty interesting. And just by chance, I happened to notice that, hey, look, they're numbered. And I'm assuming that they're numbered if there's ever a need to replace the doors. In other words, if you had to send it in for whatever reason, that would help them, I guess you might say, on the repair, which door. And I don't know if it makes a difference to me. Just to look at it, I wouldn't know, but maybe, you know, engineering wise it does. All right, aftershave, there we go. It's stayed blended a bit longer than what it typically does. I have quite a few of these aftershaves, and most of them don't stay blended this long. This one here stayed together pretty good, and that's what the restrictor looks like there. Try not to geek out too much. In other words, there's a lot of information about this razor that could go out. You spend quite a bit of time just going over all the changes that took place under the hood, which equates to how does it shave. That's the important part, as well as the longevity of the razor. In other words, does it stay functional for the length of time that you expect it would? Because, for instance, you know, you pick these up for half the price or even less, and these have been around, you know, some have been around 50, 60 years, whatever the case might be. Been around for a good long moment, and they still function just fine. May not look as pretty as a brand new one, but shave just as fine. Anyway, I had a great shave. Next video, I will do one with adjusting the settings down, so that way I can speak to how mild is mild. Hope everybody's doing well. Stay safe, stay healthy, and smooth shaves to you again.